Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome to Asian Filmist. My name is Ray and I love movies. And the movie we'll be talking about today is the 2016 film Museum, directed by Otomo Keishi, which is adapted from the manga of the same name by Tomoe Ryosuke. The movie stars Oguri Shun and Tsumabuki Satoshi as the hero and the villain respectively. And I think it's pretty cool because Tsumabuki usually does not play a villain. He usually plays the protagonist. So having him in the villain seat is a unique twist this time around. And I don't know if you've seen our video of our favorite 2016 Japanese films, but Museum was my most favorite movie of last year. So in our top 10 video, I only talked briefly about why I like Museum. Today, we can dive right into more gritty detail. So the way the story goes, Oguri Shun plays Detective Sawamura, and he is on the case to track down the source of these series of murders which only happen to happen on rainy days. He finds a suspect and he dubs him the Frogman because he always wears a frog mask, and he's played by Tsumabuki Satoshi. And so the detective starts to track the Frogman after murder, but then things start to get really personal for the detective when he finds out that his estranged wife is one of the next targets for the Frogman. So this sounds like the makings of a pretty good cat and mouse crime thriller, and is brought to us by the director of the renowned Rurouni Kenshin live-action adaptations. So could the movie deliver? Let's dive right into it. Here are the pluses I had regarding the movie Museum. The one thing I liked the most about Museum were the performances by the two lead actors. Oguri Shun as the lead protagonist, Detective Sawamura, was gripping from beginning to end, and I thought he pulled off a really good job. He pulled off a lot of really good performances in this movie, all of which asked for him to show off a lot of fear, a lot of sadness, and just a lot of emotion. But as gruffy and edgy as Oguri Shun's performance was, I really gotta hand it to Tsumabuki's performance. He's the one who stole the show. Now, most of the movies I've seen Tsumabuki Satoshi in, he's always been the hero, always been the good guy with his nice pretty face and all. If you've ever seen Water Boys, that's pretty much the kind of image I have of Tsumabuki and the characters he chooses to portray. But this time around in Museum, if you didn't know it was Tsumabuki under all those prosthetics, under all that makeup, you probably wouldn't think twice that it was him. But underneath that makeup, his acting, his character was really sinister, and it was really fun to watch. Another plus I had about the movie was its grisly and grotesque visuals, especially when it came to presenting the murders that the Frogman would commit. When he actually commits those acts of violence, they're bloody and they're gruesome without having to go too over the top. But if you haven't seen too many bloody movies, you might lose your lunch a little bit when you see the result of each of the murders. But if you're desensitized to this kind of movie violence like I am, it won't bother you that much. Like, I think any kind of violent scenes that are ever in a Miike Takashi movie are much more bloody than this one. But the grotesque visuals and also the mystery surrounding the Frogman and his intentions are very reminiscent of the classic movies Seven and Saw. So if you're a fan of crime thrillers like Seven, you might feel at home watching Museum. Other things that I like, I thought the editing and the pacing were quite well done, and also the music. The theme song was sung by One Ok Rock, and I'm a huge fan of them. So yeah, the performances, the visuals, the sets, this movie had a lot of things I enjoyed. But we gotta be constructive and we gotta talk about the minuses I had about Museum. So let's go and dive into that. First of all, I mentioned earlier that the pacing I thought was really well done, but that holds true for at least the first half of the movie. The second half kind of takes a step back and kind of drops the tempo and kind of takes you out of the movie for a little bit. Like, it's a really cool adrenaline-filled crime thriller in the first half, but in the second half it kind of turns into an escape the room kind of mini game, if you will. I'm not going to go into too many details for those of you who haven't seen it yet, but you'll know the part when you come across it. And it kind of, the drop in tempo kind of takes away from the movie just a little bit. Like, I know when this tempo slows down, it's meant to further expand on the motivations and backstories of both of the main characters, but I just couldn't help feel but taken out of the movie for a bit. And on top of that, a lot of the motivations are told via exposition, via a lot of flashbacks. Like, I don't know, I feel like in a lot of manga, a lot of expositions told by secondary characters or through flashbacks, and unfortunately Museum suffers from that trope. Like, I believe you can tell a stronger story without having to go through all that exposition, without having to drop so much information to feed the audience, and instead just kind of give hints as you go along with the story. And lastly, one gripe I have about this movie, which I will admit fully, is that I thought the final act was really played by the numbers and kind of cliched and predictable. Like, there are a few moments and scenes where the movie just shocks you, like really whoa, but then suddenly it kind of turns back around and it's like, oh, well, of course. But even though the final act was predictable and played by the numbers, I still had a good time with it, and overall, obviously, I enjoyed the film. And so the bottom line is, Museum is a really good crime suspense thriller with some manga tropes thrown into there just to kind of separate it from your usual thriller. And admittedly, its first half is much better than the second half, but to tide you over, it has stellar performances by both Oguri Shun and Tsumabuki Satoshi. And especially by Tsumabuki, I feel like this is probably my favorite character of his since Waterboys. Definitely recommend this movie for fans of crime thrillers and also of the original manga, which admittedly I haven't read before, but this movie at least made me quite interested in checking it out. And director Otomo Keishi, he did some magic with the Rurouni Kenshin movies, he did some magic here with Museum, and I hope he continues to deliver some good anime and manga adaptations in years to come. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Museum. What did you guys think? Whatever your thoughts are, leave a comment below, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to Asian Filmist for more reviews and discussions on Asian films. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and if you subscribe to our email newsletter, you can receive a free copy of our ebook, The 108 Asian Films for New Fans to Watch. Once again, my name is Ray. You can follow me on Twitter at RayMaru555, and yeah, that's about it, everyone. Alright guys, I'm about to watch some more movies. I'll be back soon, yeah? Promise.